Ghana's local participation law makes provision for 5% equity participation for indigenous Ghanaian companies, besides the Ghana National Petroleum Corporation, in upstream exploratory activities. It has, however, been identified that the legislation is being abused as some indigenous local players continue to front for international oil companies. Fronting occurs when indigenous Ghanaian enterprises connive with the international oil companies to make it seem they have acquired the 5% equity participation as required by law, when in fact they have not. This defeats the legislation's purpose for technology transfer and local revenue generation, as the fronting companies hardly do any real field work. This situation has been partly attributed to the high percentage of the equity participation for indigenous local companies, which currently sits at 5%. Key players in the petroleum regulatory industry have called for a reduction in the minimum equity participation to a figure well below 5%.
It is not that easy to find a company that can come up with a 5% capital requirement for investing in the block. If we are aware of this, then of course, common sense tells me that we may have to revise that 5% threshold. We are not under any obligation to impose a threshold that we know we cannot meet as part of the pre-qualification or as part of the award processes for contracts in the oil and gas sector. The whole discussion should be about value retention and not about counting the number of Ghanaian companies that are playing active role in the exploitation of our resources.
Natural resource economist at the Africa Center for Energy and Environmental Sustainability, Gideon Ofosu-Piasa, who spoke to GHOne News, admonished the amalgamation of resources by indigenous local companies in order to truly benefit from the provisions of the country's local participation law. He spoke on the sidelines of the Natural Resource Governance Institute's review of Ghana's competitive bid rounds.
Going forward, we should look at forming consortiums so that you can harness, you can put your strength together, your financial strength together, your technical strength together, and then whatever capacities that you have together, so that you'll be able to get that 5% equity participation stake.
It is expected that the prevalence in real local participation in the country's burgeoning oil and gas scene will be a catalyst for propelling more companies into active participation across all sectors of the industry.